Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Will Cinematics video. It's been a while, but I'm back with another video. Today I'm reviewing WandaVision. I'm actually going to break down the first 5 episodes today. So I'm going to focus less on plot due to time because I'm doing 5 episodes at once. So episode 1 starts off with this really cute 50s to 60s era theme song. In it we see Wanda and Vision enter their new house. This episode has a lot of bewitched energy. I just have to say Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are great, not just from capturing the roles of Scarlet Witch and Vision, but also mimicking these shows. The first episode plot is basically there's a heart on the calendar, and neither one of them remembers what it's for. Wacky hijinks ensue once they figure out the heart stands for Heart, H-A-R-T, as in Vision's boss. During this first episode, everything seems fine until the end. At one point, Mr. and Mrs. Hart ask about how Wanda and Vision got married, where they came from, and how they came to Westview. Then here we see neither of them remember. Things get weird as Mr. Hart starts to choke and his wife repeatedly says, "Stop it." Then things go immediately back to normal and then the episode ends. We see them zoom out on a TV playing WandaVision and someone taking notes. We later find out that this is Darcy Lewis, who is a scientist working for SWORD. And SWORD is like the big organization trying to figure out what exactly happened in Westview and what happened to Wanda. Okay, so not too much happened in this episode. It was more to establish the show and give people a better idea of what to expect. When it comes to the whole Mr. Hart choking scene, I see this as Wanda's psyche kind of leaking out into the world. So in episodes 4 and 5, we find out for sure that Wanda is controlling all of this with her mind. When Mr. Hart chokes and his wife says stop it over and over again, I think it shows how Wanda is feeling. Those words stop it is how she's feeling when they ask her where are you from, how'd you guys get married, and they don't have the answers. She wants them to stop. In these first few episodes, it is believed that Wanda created Westview in her subconscious, so I don't think she necessarily holds control over the situation as of yet. Anyways, on to episode 2. So this episode, titled Don't Touch That Dial, starts off with an animated theme song like Bewitched. Here, we see Wanda and Vision preparing for a magic act. After this, Wanda goes outside and finds a red helicopter. The red really stands out against the black and white world. It was a really cool effect, and I was so shocked when I saw it the first time. Then we see Wanda and Agnes, their noisy neighbor, head over to Dodie's house. She's the Regina George of this town, in a sense, and Wanda wants to impress her. At least in the sitcom storyline. At this party, we see Wanda meet a woman by the name of Geraldine. Later in this episode, Wanda is talking to someone and the radio goes off. The music stops playing and we hear someone say, "Wanda, who's doing this to you? Can you hear me?" At the time of the second episode coming out, we didn't really know what it was. But later we found out it's actually a message from a SWORD agent trying to help Wanda. After this, the cup Dodie was holding breaks and cuts her. The show then skips to Dodie holding a towel over her hand, and that's that. The common thing we see with the show is skipping around and reversing, and it's showing that all of this is under the greater control of Wanda. There's some wacky hijinks again at the magic show, but I won't go into that for time. This episode has a really strange ending. So out of a manhole in the middle of the road, a man comes out in this bee suit. When I first saw this, I was so freaked out. I was like, who is that? And I was like, what? And then we see Wanda say no. And at this point, the music is cut out. And it's just pretty much silent. And she's like, no. And then the show reverses back to Wanda and Vision kissing in the scene before. Then Wanda suddenly becomes pregnant and the world turns to color. Instead of going down the B storyline, it basically goes down a different storyline. She changes, rewrites the show. So throughout the few episodes we've seen of the show, we can really see that Wanda is in denial. This whole world is so happy, and when that happiness is disturbed in any way, Wanda gets set off, and we see this a lot in episode 3 and 4. Okay, so episode 3 is titled Now in Color. This episode starts off with a groovy 70s theme, and we see Wanda really pregnant. Her pregnancy is rapidly developing. Something to note is that whenever they do the cast, Geraldine is never included as a cast member, and in this episode we find out more about that. So Wanda's powers go crazy as her contractions and other pregnancy pains get worse, and then Geraldine comes over. So as her magic goes crazy, the stork shows up and refuses to leave. And then even when Wanda uses her magic, nothing happens. You guys let me know what you think of that, any predictions. I personally think it might be connected to the whole fact that Billy and Tommy, her kids, can't be controlled by her magically, and maybe the stork is just connected to that. Some sort of extension of their powers coming out. Also, I just realized I forgot to add this, but every episode has ads right in the middle. These fun ads, all these Easter eggs and clues to things that are all different Marvel references. I consider myself a big Marvel fan, but I don't know the comic book lore that well. I'm more of a MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel movie show fan, and less of a comic fan, I guess. So there are a lot of references in those ads that like I don't personally get, but if you guys get them, let me know. This show is honestly constantly puzzling me. So I did, however, notice some Hydra and Stark references, but that's it for me. Back to the plot. So, Geraldine comes over and helps Wanda give birth. Here we see some hints to the townspeople. It seems like they can't escape Westview, as in it's impossible to leave. After this convo ends, they end up talking about Wanda's brother. Geraldine mentions something she shouldn't, Wanda's brother Quicksilver's death. If you didn't know, Quicksilver was Wanda's brother from back in Sokovia, and he died during the film Age of Ultron. So basically, Wanda figures out that Geraldine isn't like a cast member, isn't someone who's supposed to be there, and literally pushes her out with magic, like through multiple walls, like out of Westview. And then when Geraldine like lands outside of Westview, she gets surrounded by like choppers and cars, and she gets basically spit out of the force field. Okay, on to episode 4. Episode 4, titled We Interrupt This Program, shows Geraldine's story, and basically no Wanda the whole episode. So her actual name is Monica Rambeau, and she's a sword agent that got sucked into Wanda's world. The episode starts with Agent Rambeau coming back after Thanos' snap. She's one of those people, along with Scarlet Witch and many others, that disappeared during those 5 years and then came back when the Avengers set everything right. I'm just gonna safely assume that everybody knows like what the blip is and the events of Infinity War and Endgame, because I don't know, if it's kind of hard to watch WandaVision without knowing that. Anyways, we see firsthand what it was like for people just to wake up back like 5 years later. I thought that was really interesting. Agent Rambeau gets briefed on a missing persons case in New Jersey and works on it with Jimmy Woo, who was previously seen in the Ant-Man movie. So then we see her fly a drone into Westview, and this is before she gets sucked in. The drone gets lost, and it's safe to draw the conclusion that this drone becomes the red helicopter that Wanda sees in her yard. It seems a giant bubble around Westview changes things after they go through. We see this happen to Rambeau when she goes through and becomes Geraldine. In this episode, we also meet some scientists. To be honest, all of them are unimportant except for Darcy Lewis. We also see the Sword send a man through the sewer with a hazmat suit. As he crosses the border, his suit becomes a bee suit, and he becomes that beekeeper that everybody was so afraid of at the end of episode 2. When he crosses the border, the rope that he was tied to becomes this like red, white, old-timey jump rope, which I thought was really interesting. There seems to be some sort of homage to the colors red, white, and blue in the show. I think it has to do with the colors of Scarlet Witch and Vision and a lot of the other superhero characters we're probably going to run into as the show progresses and gets more detailed. But there might be something more to that. It could also be like a Captain America, just like Marvel in general reference. But I'm not really sure. Here we also see how they contact Wanda via radio. We get to see the scene from the other perspective where they're talking to her and she's not responding back. The first time the show skipped over Geraldine getting kicked out. In this episode we get to see the full uncut scene. So after pushing Geraldine out, Wanda has a face of surprise with the amount of force she used. She like shoves her through multiple buildings in just like a straight line right out of town. And she makes like a face and looks at her hands almost as though she didn't know she had that kind of power, which I thought was just like really weird. Because Scarlet Witch, she's very powerful for sure. I feel like, especially in the other movies, you can tell she like knows how to use her power. She's like a seasoned superhero in that sense. But here we see Wanda almost like infused with the amount of power she holds, which I thought was really weird. Anyways, when Vision returns inside, we see not that bright living Vision we usually see, who's like this bright red color, wearing sweaters and whatnot. We see this dead Vision, who's like a dark, like a pale color. And we see that the Mind Stone is missing. There's like a crack in his head. And his eyes also look dead. And this is what he looks like after Scarlet Witch had to kill him in Infinity War. And it's also revealed to us that Scarlet Witch, days before creating Westview, she broke into a facility and took Vision's corpse. This facility was like keeping his like body, and she took it. And basically the show explains it as she like reanimated his corpse and made him into like this Vision, but she sees him as like the dead Vision for like a second, and then she like changes it back. There's a lot of this like reality creeping in, but her shutting it off, and I love those types of storylines a lot. So I really love this show. But basically, I believe the main existence of this world isn't just for fun for Wanda, but Wanda a way to be with Vision again, because Vision was all she cared about other than like her brother, who too comes back kind of in the 5th episode. Now onto the 5th episode. So the 5th and most recent episode is fun and like 80s, and this episode is where everything falls apart. This episode starts with Wanda and Vision caring for their 2 kids, Billy and Tommy. Forgot to mention their names earlier, so I'm just adding that in here. I don't know much about the comics, but I do know that Wanda's kids grow up to be Speed and Wiccan, I believe. I could be wrong though. Wiccan is like high-key my favorite Marvel superhero for sure, so I'm really excited to see if we see them as grown-ups or as teenagers or with powers. So I'm really excited for that. Anyways, we see their nosy neighbor, Agnes, come in. She wants to help with the babies, but Vision says no. Then we see Agnes say, do you want me to retake the scene? Like in a very normal voice, like the laughter dies down. So there's basically a laugh track throughout the show. And the moments where the show gets serious and becomes like a drama, it's always switching between this like lighthearted, like little like bewitched, like 50s, 60s, 70s comedy, and then back to drama. And when it switches to drama, the laugh track turns off, the music dies down. And right here, this is what happened when Agnes said, like, oh, do you want me to retake the scene? And she said it so normally, it almost sounded like they were, like, filming something. Wanda shrugs off Agnes's remark and distracts Vision. Then the boys just age into toddlers in mere seconds. They find a dog, and then they age up again. God, they're like Sims. Like, I swear they're going from, like, baby to toddler to kid to teen, so on. Then we see a Rambo scene, and she realizes that the world just alters stuff. So she gets the idea to send in a drone from the 80s so they can actually get a view into Westview because it won't get interfered with by Wanda's magic. It works, but her boss, I don't remember his name, but yeah, his crusty white ass, armed the drone against Scarlet Witch. Like, there was no common sense in that decision. Like, Scarlet Witch has magic-related powers, and you're trying to take her out with, like, a missile. Like, I didn't really get the logic there. But anyways, Scarlet Witch gets mad, and we actually see her outside of Westview. So she's wearing her same outfit she wore in Infinity War, which is the same outfit she just like comes back in from the dust, I believe. She basically leaves and gives them a warning to like stay back. She's like, everybody stay out of Westview, stay out of my home. And when she leaves, we see the barrier around Westview, which is normally this weird like blue staticky looking color, changed to red, which is, I don't really know what it means, but it's really interesting. I think it means Wanda probably put some sort of either like protection over it or added some sort of like defense in a sense, but I'm not super sure as to what the meaning could be. Then we see Vision at work. Wanda like sent him to work to like get him out of her face. And he uses his Mind Stone powers to free one of his fellow employees from Wanda's spell. The employee starts rambling and freaking out over his like family members, and then Vision undoes what he did and leaves the guy under the spell and heads back home to confront Wanda. And he learns that Wanda is really the key to this whole world, and Vision is starting to piece it together. Then we come back to the twins searching for their dog. Then we find out that the dog died at Agnes's house. So basically they had found this dog at the start of the episode, and it was like one of those like sitcom moments. And then here, just a dramatic change because the dog died. And I just thought the dog dying, first of all, but at Agnes's house was sketchy AF. Like, I did not understand it. Like, I've heard all these theories that like Agnes is evil, like circulating on the internet, and honestly this would make sense in this scenario. Throughout the show we see Wanda constantly correcting and perfecting her sitcom world. The fact that something sad like this happened in a perfect sitcom world is really weird and is not adding up. Like, something definitely went wrong. And it was just very weird and like standoffish moment. And that's not the first time we've gotten a standoffish moment from Agnes. Just in the same episode we got the weird one where she's like, do you want me to like retake that, you know? So Agnes is definitely standing out to me as a very strange character that could be a bigger part of this puzzle. And when it comes to Wanda not being able to use magic to control her twins, I think it kind of shows how they might be her legit kids and that we might see them like in the world after all of this is over. If there's an end to this, which I'm pretty sure there is, I couldn't see them ending like the show, or like at least ending Wanda's story as this like crazy psychic telekinetic witch living in this town with a bunch of people hostage, you know? So there's definitely gonna be some sort of resolve, but I think the kids, or maybe they might be teens by the end of the show, I'm not really sure how they're gonna age up because they've been aging up so fast, but I think we're gonna see them at the end and after the show, just because of how important I think their characters are. Then the episode ends with Wanda getting confronted by Vision. They fight and the credits start to roll over their fights. Like, they're still talking, they're still fighting, and the credits are rolling. So while the credits roll, Vision says, no, the episode isn't going to end here. That's basically the gist of what he said. He's like, no, you're not doing this, you're not ending it here. We're not just going to sit on the couch and watch TV and forget everything happened. And they both end up like flying and like verbally fighting some more. And then Wanda confesses she doesn't really know how Westview started. She doesn't know for sure how it became a thing. But over time, she started to like wake up to it, in a sense. I think it's all has to do with this whole like subconscious thing, especially when we see the video of her breaking into that facility to get Vision's body. She looks so mentally like troubled. In her head, it hasn't been 5 years. It's been like probably 10 minutes since she killed Vision and took out like the Mind Stone and like destroyed it, just to have Thanos like piece it back together and snap. She's very upset about that, and we see how that connects to this whole like subconscious thing. I think she was so enraged that she ended up just like taking over without like truly knowing it, in a sense. Then the doorbell like suddenly rings. This was so unexpected. I was not expecting this. And at the door is Quicksilver, of like all people. I was really shocked. But he's not looking like himself though from the MCU Avengers movies. He actually is played by Evan Peters, and Evan Peters plays X-Men's version of Quicksilver. So I guess he's playing Wanda's version of Quicksilver. And the last line of the episode is Quicksilver got recast. I guess use somebody else to become her brother that she misses. And she's basically just using this world to fill in all the gaps in her life. A world away from all her pain, and a world with her brother still living. And that's how the episode ends, and that's where we are now. So yeah, there was a lot to unpack here, and it was a really crazy 5 episodes. So please let me know what you guys think of WandaVision in the comments. Please tell me any theories you guys have, because I'm super interested in like the theories and almost like the lore of this show, because there's so much to unpack here. And also, I have some exciting news. So the next series I'm going to review after WandaVision is either going to be the Harley Quinn series, which I watched recently, or The Mandalorian, which I also watched recently. So if you guys have a preference, please let me know. Also, I'm going to start doing a murder mystery month. So every month I'll release a review for a mystery movie, but you guys don't find out what the movie is until you watch the review. Like, the thumbnail won't say anything, the title won't say anything. It'll all just be like a mystery as to what the mystery movie is, and it'll be like monthly. So that's why it's like murder mystery month. I don't know, I just thought it'd be a good idea. You guys let me know if it's not, but yeah, I'm going to try it, I guess. But that's it for today. And thank you for watching, and please make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.